Thank you, everybody, for joining. You know, I was at a Maharat retreat for alumni. When it's women, it's alumnae, not alumni, just so you know. And they gave us this book as a gift, each one of us. And Rabbi Buchdahl and Rabbi Sarah Hurwitz, you know, the head of Yeshivat Maharat, when it started, they actually had a panel and spoke to us, which was really, really cool. So when Rav Stephen asked me who I want to pick for modern Jewish thinkers, for those who are not familiar, every summer since Rav Ezra was here, it was his idea. We pick two modern, of course, that's a little loose what modern is. They don't have to be alive. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But we're not going all the way back to, Gemara and Mishnah as a rule. So modern Jewish thinkers.
You're doing this book now?
Yeah. Isn't that what you came for? Oh, well, perfect. So I like to pick always a man and a woman. It can be a little bit of a challenge, but that's important to me. I guess you can all guess why that's important to me. So this was my no-brainer. And then in 2 weeks, next week I think is Reb Stephen, and in 2 weeks I'll be doing the man who's Reb Adin Steinsaltz. Completely different vibe, which is cool for me. But what this got me to do also, I knew this way I'd read the book. Otherwise it would be on my shelf and until it would work its way up to the top. So that's how I do it. I already have some of my books picked out for next summer so that I'll force me to read them because I want to read them and I haven't done it for the last, I don't know how many years. So she is so impressive, this woman. Yeah. Rabbi Angela Buchdahl. And I think what I really, really, really appreciated, by the way, when I was reading it, there were about 100 or I don't know how many, 50 or 100 little Post-its. You see, I have one Post-it in here that I just marked all sorts of things as I was reading it. This is what I want to say, and this is what I want to say. And I got to and then I summarized it. Just that got me, so sweet, to 11 pages of just quotes that I wanted. I don't think we'll get through all of them. But I did try to put it together in some sort of an arc of what I think she thinks as a modern Jewish thinker. She's such an impressive lady. And I want to say from the outset that one of the things that really, really, really impressed me about her, again, I know her through the book. So I don't know her personally, although I did get to meet her personally on this panel where she was so lovely and spoke about the book, but also spoke about herself in front of female Orthodox rabbis, right? She's a Reform rabbi, but she was speaking and she was just fantastic. She comes across as this amazingly self-confident, not in a, Yehirut, how do you say that? Not in a sense of I'm better than you are, or arrogance, not at all. But just like total poise, she looks elegant and lovely, and on top of things, she speaks beautifully. She sings beautifully. What? So David has heard her. Did you hear her? Or you read? Oh, from the book.
No,
you were at the conservative show. Yeah.
I've heard her. She's on JBS.
At Central Synagogue.
So somebody told me. Somebody told me yesterday. You told me, I can't remember who it was, who said that there are 1 million people who tune in to her Central Synagogue. That was so mind-boggling. Like, how many Jews are there even in the world? So, like, 1 million? That felt like, even if it's not 1 million, it's like saying, there were 600,000. How many people were at the parade? 20,000, 50,000, 70,000. Even if it's not 1 million, even if it's 100,000, or even if it's 500,000. It's a huge number. So she's so impressive. But what I wanted to say was what touched my heart was that she was so, as David said, genuine. And I would say she was willing to show vulnerability. Yeah. She was willing to say, when I stepped into a new arena each time, I panicked. I was nervous. And then here is how I calmed myself. Sometimes, so some of you have read the book. It's not exactly a book review. It's similar to a book review, but not really. It's more how I gleaned about her life, but I do have a lot of quotes from her book that I want to read to you because in her words, it's even better. But what really, really just touched me so deeply was that you can get to a pinnacle. I mean, think about where she is. The biggest, I think, Reform synagogue probably in the world reaches hundreds of thousands of people. I can't promise 1 million. Just people on Zoom, please go on mute because it's a little, distracting. And I just love that she's such a real person, like just such a real person and is willing to say that and to say it gives everybody permission to say, I'm also vulnerable. So that to me was just an overarching theme that I found really, really, really beautiful. Okay. I got a great question here from the side. Is she Jewish? Okay. Somebody had told me, by the way, incorrectly, at least according to her book. I'm going according to what's written in the book because that's from her mouth. And somebody had said to me she converted Orthodox so that she would be accepted by everyone. But that is not what the book says.
Her son did.
what she said.
Her son did. Yes.
Correct. So the person who told me didn't know, obviously, because in the book it's very clear that, well, let's go through the biography. But I guess the quick answer to you, Iris, is that from Orthodox standards and even conservative standards, she's not. But because she was born to a Korean mother, not Jewish, and a Jewish father. So if she had wanted to convert Orthodox, there's something called Zera Yehudi, which is Jewish seed. That's the literal translation. Generally, what that means is that you have some Judaism in you, in your DNA, because her father is Jewish. So, but that, because according to Orthodoxy and conservative still, it's matrilineal. Matrilineal. That means that it goes according to the mother. Therefore, in our eyes, she's not Jewish, but she's Reformed Jewish and amazing. And it's not in the book, but somebody who was there told me at her talk that her son, I guess, is Orthodox, and therefore he converted. So she did convert Reform, and that's a whole chapter because, and I didn't even get to that yet, so give me a second. Brenda, did you have a question?
No, I was gonna say that now they say, usually your Jewishness goes through your mother. But according to the the Reform, if your father is Jewish,
Correct.
they now consider you Jewish.
Exactly. That's
But
that's
she has
one.
that unfortunately, she has that stigma, if you want to say, because a lot of people don't consider her Jewish.
Exactly. So yes, according to Orthodoxy and conservative, and according to the other one, she is. Yeah.
Could you say that people say that she converted to Orthodoxy?
Somebody had told me this, but incorrectly.
I'll just tell you from the talk.
She-
One second. I just want to bracket this because there's so much to say about her, and I don't want to just be stuck on whether she's Jewish. Let's just leave it at she didn't have, according to the book, an Orthodox conversion. She had a Reform conversion. You want to say something else?
son
I
had
know her
yeah.
son had. I get that, but that's not relevant to her.
Right.
Right. Okay. Yeah, Tzvi.
Quickly, I just want to say, I think the reason people think she converted Orthodox, because even though it was not an Orthodox conversion, there was a mikvah. She added mikvah to it, even though, but it was still.
Doesn't Reform always have a mikvah?
I don't think so.
I think so.
I don't
Well,
think
how else
so.
do you do conversion?
The way I read it is that
Okay.
it was.
I don't, whoever it was mistaken. So the question was in place, is she Jewish? So, I still respect her as a rabbi, honor her as a rabbi, and I want to leave it at that. I just don't think I would have taken her book if I didn't respect her and honor her, and I do. And I respect the fact that Reform Judaism changed the way they consider people Jewish, either matrilineal or patrilineal. That's not the way we do it, and that's it. I don't want to talk about that anymore because not so relevant to what I think of her as a modern Jewish thinker, okay? And that's the title of these series. Okay, I have a lot to say. The name of her book is Heart of a Stranger. By the way, she told us that she had called it Soul of a Stranger, and her editor said, that sounds so rabbinic. And she's like, duh, I am a rabbi. But the publisher thought that would put people off, Soul of a Stranger. I'm not sure why, so she changed it at the last minute to Heart of a Stranger. But I think Soul of a Stranger is very beautiful, although so is Heart of a Stranger, so either one. But the thing is, it's an unlikely rabbi story of faith, identity, and belonging. And that really is what this book is about. So let me, paraphrase a lot of what she said, that growing up, so I just want everybody to imagine what it must have been like for her and what it was like for her. You're born to a Korean mother, deeply, deeply committed to Buddhism and to her Korean heritage, still till today, and a Jewish father, deeply committed to being Jewish and having a Jewish identity. So to her parents, there was no conflict. They fell in love with each other. They were fine holding those pieces side by side. They emigrated or immigrated, I don't remember what the difference is, but they came from Korea to America, to the US, where her father grew up, in order to give them more of a Jewish identity. And all of a sudden she inherited, people who know her family and generations. But she herself was always looking for belonging and identity.
When did they immigrate?
So she was 8 or 5 or something, I don't know, but
She was a kid.
yeah. She was a little child, exactly. But she still had memories from Korea. But she grew up American, and she is totally like there's no accent, there's no any issue like that. I have some of that in here, not all of it. So I want to read some of the things that I wrote. Does that make sense? So she's looking for, and she really, through the book, I would say the arc that weaves beautifully through the book is how, I don't know if you're aware of this, but more than any other phrase and mitzvah in the Torah, does anybody know what the most common mitzvah in the Torah or phrase that repeats itself over and over and over? Anybody know? Yeah, Tzvi. Okay, not the verse that God spoke to Moshe. I get that. More like a mitzvah, like a commandment, something we need to
Welcome
do.
the stranger.
Welcome the stranger. Good going, Ellen. Look at
I
you.
read the book.
Oh, you read the book. Fair enough. You retained it. And also Carol was going to say that. You shall love the stranger. That is the... No, that's not the same thing, Tila. V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, you should love your neighbor as yourself. First of all, that doesn't appear many times, but also that's more usually defined as another Jew. Whereas you shall love the stranger is not only a Jew. It's somebody who ended up on your doorstep for one reason or another, and it speaks to general humanity and being created in the image of God. But you can understand why she would find that that's so meaningful and poignant to her. Because, sorry?
She herself is a stranger.
Exactly. Thank you, Ruby. Because she herself felt like a stranger in so many settings, even at some point, which I'm not going to necessarily do a whole timeline, when she ended up at Yale, she didn't know which box to check. Should she check the box of Jewish, of Korean? Like, which is the most interesting to her? Well, I'm fully a woman. I'm kind of 100% Korean. That's one of her quotes. And I'm also 100% Jewish. I mean, to her, right? So how do you fit in? And she said when she went to the Korean student gathering, she felt estranged because they were all Christian. And when she went to the Jewish one, they kind of looked at her as scants. So, and actually, the book is marked through with different settings where she was not accepted and made to feel left out, which, as you asked from the very first question, Ira said, is she Jewish? So what happens when somebody comes to an Orthodox setting and that person isn't Jewish? And you're a woman, so that's a different thing because, of course, men and women, it's not completely egalitarian in Judaism, in Orthodoxy. Just witness that we have a mechitza, and there are certain mitzvot that are a different level of obligation. So, so there were so many pieces. And yet, she did find her way. And one of the other most beautiful things is something that her mother said to her, and that is that God did not put us in, I'm paraphrasing, put us in this world to be comfortable. It's to fulfill whatever mission God put us here for. And from a young age, this woman wanted to be a rabbi.
Rabbi,
Yeah. 1 second, taking a quick time out. Bonnie,
just since you said what would happen.
just louder.
You said what would happen if a Reformed Jewish woman came to our bayit. Would that person be allowed to put away the Torah?
Great question. Not answering.
Can I go back to the conversion for just 1 second?
Guys, there's so much to say.
It relates to this because she doesn't call it a conversion.
Correct. I didn't get to that. Correct. For her, it doesn't feel like a conversion.
She said to her it was a recommitment.
Yes.
And it came after she had been rejected.
That is true. That is absolutely true.
By other
you can
Orthodox
see how
people.
hard it is to fit in because according to Reform, she's Jewish. So why does she have to do a conversion? She doesn't have to.
Right, and she wouldn't want to do that, and she resented that idea. But she also got the commitment from her idea from her mother, I think.
Okay,
what
I'm going to
I
start reading what I wrote here, if that's okay.
Okay.
She was born in South Korea in 1970. I spent a lot of time putting this together so that I wouldn't forget. Hopefully, there's a lot of pages. Let's see what we get to. And you can always read the book. So she's an unlikely rabbi. Born in South Korea in 1972, daughter of a Korean Buddhist mother, Ashkenazi Jewish father, and raised in Tacoma, Washington. Not New York, and not Los Angeles, and not Chicago. About as far from a Jewish center of gravity as USA offers. And she was in a small and deeply embracing Reform community in Tacoma. She had text study and ritual and song. Song, by the way, is a very, very big part of who she is. It moves her, it connects her. She was trained as both a cantor and a rabbi. Also unusual. As a child, she loved being Jewish. She didn't feel that was complicated. Her mother, who also was displaced, right, because she's Korean, I see her mother as a role model for her. Her mother created all these amazing institutions for people, women especially, who came from Korea, who felt displaced. So in a way, her mother is living You Shall Love a Stranger, right? She said, well, now I'm the American in her Korean accent. I have to make the other Korean women feel welcome, which was really, really beautiful. And also even she created a way for women who were abused to have a place to go to, Korean women where it was shameful to talk about it. So to me, that feels like, it seems like her parents were really her heroes in the book. It didn't feel so complicated. She may not have wanted to share, but felt very, very beautiful, the things that she retained from her parents.
And can I say one thing?
Yeah.
She was very open about wanting her child to be raised as a Jewish child.
Yes.
Because she felt she would be more accepted as an American.
Yes, that is true. To be,
That's
yeah,
pretty,
nice.
remarkable
Yes,
for-
that her mother gave up basically living in Korea with her sisters who she loved, very, 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 very close. Yes.
And wanted her to embrace the Jewish religion.
Wanted her to embrace the Jewish religion. Okay, thank you. So the other thing I want to say is, okay, you don't have to stay, it's all good. All right. The other thing I want to say that's really beautiful about this book, and this gives us a window into who Rabbi Buch, I'm not going to tell you the whole book, it's just impossible, and I recommend that you read it if it interests you. It's very easy read, as Bonnie pointed out to me. And here's the thing. There's her life story, her challenges, how she rose above or had other issues with challenge. She even spoke about postpartum, a form of depression. She spoke about herself as a woman, as a Korean descent, as a Jew, and she also teaches Torah in here. And it's very powerful. The Torah that she teaches is Torah that I would teach. I don't see any difference, really. A couple of places in halacha, maybe. But the way she interprets Torah, and when I say Torah, that's broad. It could be Mishnah, it could be something else. She brings from our heritage. Everything comes from our heritage. She doesn't bring from radically different places. And one of the beautiful ways she did it, which I think is so accessible, I tell you, so many things spoke to me personally, because I feel like that's a way I like to do it, weaving her personal story into values of Judaism. And the values that she wrote here are universal values of Judaism. And you can see, and I think she did a really beautiful job of picking either a value or a thought to connect to that story. There's 31 chapters, so there's 31 different values that she brought, just to give you a feeling. Oh, this is the picture, but I guess people hear it. So I'm going to show you on Zoom. This is just a picture of her parents and her. It's very hard to see. I could pass her afterwards because it's small. Cute little big cheek baby who's Korean American. So, like, the first one is Echad. How do we know Echad? Oneness. What is that? That's God, right? Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. God is, hear Israel, God is our God. God is one. So that's her first value. Gesher, you know the song, Kol Haolam Kulo, Gesher Tzar Ma'od, the whole world is a bridge. And then she has Ve'ahavta, you shall love, which it's true, Tila. It's also you should love your neighbor, but it's also you should love the stranger. Welcoming in, Achnasat Orchim, like Abraham, and she brings from Abraham and Sarah. Emunah, which she doesn't translate as belief, she translates as trust, which I thought was magnificent. Savlanut, patience, so you can see that I hope you can see that these are all values that we all hold. You can ask questions if somebody doesn't. Okay. But the outside world was not the Tacoma sanctuary. At 16, she was told for the first time she'd need to convert, and she'd actually have to convert Orthodox before everybody would accept her. But she eventually stood before, I was about to say, Ellen, what you said, of 3 Reform rabbis, and she called it a reaffirmation. Okay. So we spoke about that. I don't think but here's another thing. So, one of the things that was so important to her, and I think this again weaves away, the hurt that she or others might feel when one is not accepted or not treated with kindness. So she and her sister, obviously both brilliant. They were accepted into amazing programs that went to Israel. So she was treated, she was told that even though she had an amazing voice, she could lead song and guitar, she couldn't with her guitar, she couldn't lead certain ceremonies, but to her, that gave her an impetus to lean in more. I want to be accepted. I want to do this. I want to understand. Whereas her sister Gina, who obviously is also extremely talented and is in Los Angeles, I think, following a musical career, the people, the college kids, whoever were on the program with her, did not know how to tell her in a kind and honest way. Like, what happened was they did a Havdalah ceremony. She was asked to lead it. Not everybody on the program was Orthodox, but the Orthodox kids are like, wait a minute, she's not Jewish, she's a woman. So they asked her to say it, just instead of saying God's name, to say Hashem Elokeinu. And she was so mortified afterwards when she understood that what she said was not real, that it led her to abandon Judaism completely. And I think it's so telling how one incident can affect someone positively or negatively. It was a similar incident, but not exactly the same. But, her sister, left after that. Okay. I said that. So as we said, she trained first as a cantor. By the way, the reason she trained first as a cantor is because she couldn't get into the right in the HUC, I think is the Reform. So they have different campuses. They didn't have room for her in the New York campus, and her fiance at the time, a Jewish man named Jacob, I don't know if that's not his name, Buchdahl. That's what? Jacob, I don't remember the last name. So he was there. He's Buchdahl? Yeah. Oh, I didn't remember that. Oh, right, he's Buchdahl. Right, correct. So the two of them, somebody suggested to her, why don't you train as a cantor? There's room for you as a cantor. She fell in love with being cantor, but she also trained as a rabbi afterwards. So that's just, again, that's a way of saying, well, I have a challenge. How can I make it work for me? And I think each time it brought her to another place along her path. In time, she became the first Asian American ever ordained as a cantor, and then the first Asian American ordained as a rabbi. And in 2006, she became the senior rabbi at Central Synagogue, and also the first female rabbi to be a senior rabbi. Now, even, I guess, or maybe to be senior rabbi in a large congregation, even in other denominations, and not just in Orthodox. In Orthodoxy, it's very rare for a woman to be senior rabbi. We're slowly getting there. The Maharat graduates who are senior rabbis either started their own shul or whatever, found a way to make it work. It's uncommon because it takes a long time. But even in the other denominations, so it was a big deal that in Central Synagogue, she was asked, and there's her vulnerability. Her immediate thing was, how can I do it? I can't do it. Because this current senior rabbi, who was loved and revered, he would have dinner. He was older, so he would go out to dinner with congregants. And she said, I can't do that. I can't drop everything. I can't abandon my children. She worked through that and came to a conclusion. Her husband is a full partner in parenting, which is obviously very, very helpful. But she also realized that she doesn't have to be like her predecessor. She has to be her. She has to. It was okay for her to work her way through and her insecurities and her feeling I can't be him, but actually she realized I just have to be me and do it in a way that's right for me and my skills. Okay. American Jewry today looks less like a single inherited category, because sometimes, until now at least, or until a few years ago, when somebody said rabbi, what's the picture that comes up in everybody's mind? Oh, thank you. So somebody's going like this, a man with a long beard. So first of all, there are many men who don't have a long beard, might have a short one, or might not have a beard at all. That's new-ish. And also slowly, not so new?
know someone didn't have a beard years and years.
Yeah, I understand that, but it wasn't as prevalent. But then why would people say, when you say rabbi, we think of an old man with a beard, right? That's still what comes up in people's minds. Okay, so if you didn't grow up that way, okay. But the vast majority did, yeah, Tzvi.
Well, no, that's the point. Remember, we're talking, the time frame we're talking about, the vast majority were no longer Orthodox, so I don't think they would have associated rabbi with.
So it's really interesting, because I actually noted this, but I'd have to find that when she was actually asked if she would put in her nomination to apply for the job as senior rabbi. So even people who really liked her, like one person said, I think we need an Ashkenazi background, right? And she doesn't look, yeah, exactly. Roberta's like, ooh, that hurts. Her father is Ashkenazi. And somebody, but she said, I think it meant, right, that was the color, the Korean. But somebody else said, we're not sure you have the gravitas. And she said, what that meant was, I don't look like a 60-year-old man. So it was still there, David. It was still there, right? It was still there, this internal bias. And yet, in the end, she was the one who was selected, both by the search committee, and they had to put the vote to the people in the audience. Anyway, okay. So at this point, Rabbi Buchdahl is no longer simply an exception to that story. She's become one of the most visible faces. A woman once told to prove her belonging over and over, but she is redrawing not only her, but I would say in many ways, because her face is so well known, what it looks like to be a rabbi. And she's so visible that, remember what happened in Colleyville? Again, I'm jumping around the book, it's not. Yeah. The person who was holding the 4 people in the synagogue hostage, he only wanted to speak to her because he knew that she's Jewish and that she has supposedly power or control, which obviously was a lie, but I mean, not a lie, a fabricated story, but he had believed that. So that just shows how much her face is so well known. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to read some of this. Okay, so here's an example, or some examples about how she weaves in her story. She always connects it to Jewish liturgy. So remember what I told you about one? She went on a hike as a child. And by the way, not only did she want to be a rabbi growing up, there's a beautiful story in here about her sister, they're 2 girls, how she led prayer services at night, every night. She just did that on her own. And she said even when they separated, were in 2 different rooms, they'd call across the hall to each other. So she said, you can't be a rabbi and lead a prayer service if you don't have somebody following it. So she said, Shema, and she said the other, there's a list of the things that she said. But, I think that you can see it on somebody who had seeds of whatever it was she was interested in. She said, until today, if she and her sister speak, even though her sister in many ways left Judaism, they'll still do the nightly ritual together, which is very sweet because they're obviously so much older. So they went on a hike with their mom. I found this a very powerful image. The mom took them on a hike up the mountain, and they were young, and they were fetching, complaining a little bit, but not loud because her mother did not like it if they complained. So they knew to do that quietly. And her mom said, you may think you are separate from this mountain, but you are not. And the 2 little girls look at each other like, what are you talking about? And she said something so beautifully when she came up and she was on the mountain. I closed my eyes and noticed the smooth stone holding me up, the way the wind stirred my hair and the branches at the same time. I felt the sheer thrill of actually sitting on this natural dinosaur, the mountain, which I had seen from afar every day of my childhood. And then it hit me. For any other person looking at the mountain today, their view would include me. They might not know it, but I am here indistinguishable from the mountain. And that felt so beautiful to me, the idea that you can be a part of something and that would change somebody's view. But for me, it brought together this idea of being one with something. When somebody can't distinguish you separately, then you might feel like a tiny speck on the mountain, her mother said, but you are part of it. Okay. And I want to remind you of the story. She quotes it in the welcoming the stranger. So she quotes that, she says this so beautifully. She says, she notices the two sides of welcoming the stranger. That it's not just that you're making the person who you're welcoming in feel good. To me, Abraham and Sarah's hospitality, that felt like too much for her. What? They're running around, they're opening it to anybody, until she thought of it in the context of her mother's life. How beautiful that we have heroes from when we're young. Abraham's welcome is not a paternalistic act of helping those less fortunate. It actually nourishes his own heart. This invitation reception is a spiritual act of transformation for Abraham. When he welcomes the three wayfarers, remember the story that God sent angels? He's no longer the stranger, he becomes the host, the one who welcomes. When we open our doors, our tents or our houses, or just communities to welcome those who feel like outsiders, it changes the way we feel. That felt just so powerful because it aligns so beautifully with the way HIR tries to operate, where we try to make people feel welcome. If they're different, if they're not different, whether it's people on the spectrum or people who have mental health challenges or people who have physical challenges of any kind, we try to make people feel welcome and not to judge. This is what I said to you before. My mother was the stranger until she became the welcomer. But then when she had sisters who were newer, she's like, I'm the American, I need to welcome them. And she watched the same phenomenon unfold at her synagogue. And I want you to know that when people come up to me sometimes and they say, I came here for a Shabbat a year ago, half a year ago, and I or somebody else welcomed them, it just changed it completely. That felt like a message that felt really important. Okay. Okay. I loved that she translated emunah. So how would you translate emunah usually, if anybody here speaks Hebrew? La'amin.
Normally,
To believe.
Belief. Tehillah says belief. Most people, I think, ani ma'amin, I believe with all my heart that Mashiach will come, right? But she translates it as trust, which I think shifts things a little bit. Like she says when Abraham was commanded by God to bring his son, so belief maybe, but if he didn't trust God, then he couldn't have followed that. And I thought I see that means it really resonated with me. And then I saw that some Sidurim, some translations of the Torah do translate it as trust. Faith and trust might seem interchangeable. Look how smart she is. She is very smart and articulate. But the key difference between them is when Emunah first appears, and she actually doesn't even do the binding of Isaac. She says when God calls Abraham to leave his birthplace, and that God tells him to look up and to trust God that Abraham will have descendants. God doesn't ask him to believe, but to do. Step outside, count the stars, and then trust God that this will happen. And I imagine, this is her speaking, as Abraham looks up to the heavens and begins numbering the stars, this action inspires awe, which is one of her themes, very important to Yirah, which some people translate as fear of God. She only uses the word awe, which is my favorite word as well. But it gave him confidence in the Creator, because when you're awe-inspired by looking up at the stars in the sky, then that can fill you with awe. And that helps you believe as well. Trust. And then it continues, vehe'emin. Instead of saying, and Abraham believed, it's that it instilled trust. So that's something for us to take. The idea of trust, can you differentiate and can you take for yourself trust in God? Whatever that means for you, trust in God feels different from belief. Okay. Many Jews, when asked if they believe in God, have trouble answering. I don't know. So she says the better question is, do you trust that there is a force for good in the world, and will you act upon that trust? I still have a little bit more time. Oh, there's so much more to say. Okay, that I spoke about. She says something else. She says two things. Again, this is all about how she thinks, a modern Jewish thinker. So she I love Hebrew, and she found ways to read Hebrew words in a different way than I had heard before. I think Rabbi would love it, because Rabbi loves finding words inside words. You know how Rabbi will take a word and break it up, right? So what is the word zehut?
Identity.
Identity. Got Tehillah right here. Total plant in the audience. Thank you, Tehillah. Zehut is identity. Everybody good with that? Tudat zehut? No, you don't think so?
No, I didn't know.
Oh, so zehut, yeah. Lizahot means to identify someone. It does mean that. Zihui is an identification. Tudat zehut, like in Israel, it's an identity card. So here's the thing. I totally love this, and I am taking this for me too. When she meets with bar and bat mitzvah kids, in addition to saying, what do you like, and because we do that, Rav Stephen and I, we meet at Menchie's, they love it. Sometimes they meet with Rav Stephen once at Menchie's and with me once at Menchie's. Sometimes we meet them together, sometimes one of us, it depends on what works out. And we ask them questions about themselves, what do you like? And she asks questions that I have not asked until now. I mean, sometimes we got there. She says, what makes you uniquely you? What's special about you? So kids answered things like, I'm good at listening, or I tell jokes, or I help my friends with their homework, or I'm fun to have around, or, I'm good for a quiet walk, or, whatever it is. But if you can get to that. So she says in the word zehut, listen to how beautiful, is the word zeh. What is zeh?
This.
This, your identity. What is your identity? I wish we had time. We would spend time learning about everybody's identity here. What makes you fabulously you? What is it? We believe that every person is created and brought into this world because the world needs you and 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 every single person on right here, even if it's the two of you, Scott and Sharon. Each of you need to be in this world. What makes you uniquely you that is special about you that you bring to the world?
All right. Oh, good.
We're just going to mute. We're muting you, Edith, because we can hear your phone call. So what makes you uniquely you? And it is totally okay to be proud of that. You don't have to have, that's the other thing she speaks about is humility. It's a Musar teaching. Humility doesn't mean I'm not good enough. It means you don't have to take up more space. The way it was explained to me once, she didn't explain it this way, but it's a good way. You don't have to take up so little space on the park bench that you're smaller than you should be. And you also don't have to take up so much room that you take over the whole park bench. But you need to take up the room that God put you on this earth for. And I think that would really resonate with her. Like, it's okay to step in there. She said when she was first asked to be the lead, she was asked to light the Hanukkah candles when Obama was president. And first she's like, no, I'm Korean and I look so different. And her husband's like, yeah, that's why you should do it. They're asking you because you're unique and you're modeling, and she did do it. And also it felt very cool to her because, Obama also was like first black president, so that felt very good intersectionality in that sense. So the zeh, this, can you put your finger on this? I encourage all of you to have a conversation with a friend or a spouse or a sibling or a child or anything, and each of you can ask each other and welcome and do it with curiosity and love. What's special? And can you say it for yourself? You could say it for the other person, but I like that each person finds for yourself what makes you special, and it's okay to embrace it. So that was one thing. And another word is mashber. So who knows what mashber? Tila.
Masber, crisis.
Crisis. 1 second. Laura, Michaeli, I didn't even know you were on. Cool. I had to leave. Oh, somebody said they had to leave early. Okay. How about zihu? Oh, zehu. This is the one. Zehu. Could be. Yes. It's a variation on zeh. Very nice for identity. Yep. This is the one. Beautiful. Also, it's a variation on zeh. So that's beautiful. The word mashber, crisis, has within it another word.
A broken thing.
Shavur, something broken, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So she takes the example of the broken luchot, that Moshe smashed the luchot. And even though they were smashed, and you might think that that's the end of that's the end of our relationship, often from brokenness can be growth. And a crisis can often be an opportunity. It's just so interesting that mashber, which means crisis in English, but in Hebrew it has the word brokenness. And I don't remember if it was for that or for something else, but she told a story in the book, a really powerful story about how her mother, who, as I said, was like Korean and really proud of her heritage, and she passed down some very ancient artifacts to her, to Angela, and Angela put one of them on a windowsill as a place of honor, and it was a new apartment, and they had just installed, they just put in, I don't know, some Alexa or something, I don't know, to automatically turn off the lights. And she said, let's say, I don't remember if this was exactly, Alexa, turn off the lights, and all of a sudden she heard a crash because the electrician had actually, the blinds, the automatic blinds also came down. And it was just horrifying for her to see these pieces on the floor. So it was suggested to her to use the Japanese, I have it in here somewhere, but now I'm not going to find it. There is a Japanese art form called, kintsugi. And what it is they take the pieces and they use lacquer and gold filament or silver so that when it's put together, it actually has beautiful gold. So you see the cracks, but it's in some ways can be more beautiful. So one thing that was hard for her, and this also shows you how much Angela carries within her, so much of her heritage on both sides. She carries the Jewish side, but she also carries the Korean side. So Korea, for a long time, was occupied by Japan, and she said how her mother was given a Japanese name and only allowed to speak in Japanese at the beginning. So she's like, why does it have to be a Japanese art form? Why couldn't it be anything else? Japan? That's like the one, But actually, when she found a woman who was an artist and who did this kintsugi, which is another example of how breakage can create something beautiful and growth, this woman with tears said, "This is a way." I have to mute people who are speaking. Okay, that this is a way to do tikkun. So people here are familiar with tikkun olam. Tikkun olam is repairing the world, and this is a really strong mainstay of the reform movement. Reform as in reform, right? Not reform in a negative way, but to reform and to rethink and to do tikkun olam. So you could imagine that this kintsugi is a way, like aligned so beautifully with reforming. In fact, one of the things, and in the end she did get it back. It was really beautiful. She put it back, not on the windowsill, somewhere else. And she received a beautiful little teacup from this woman as a gift, but this woman felt this was a tikkun for the way Japan had occupied. Like for the artist, it was actually a reparation, and that felt really beautiful all around because she was recognizing why this was difficult for Angela. I just loved the way she weaves in all different parts, and she put the tikkun together. Wait, there was something else, and now I lost it. What was I going to connect it to? Tikkun olam, repairing the world. One of the things, she doesn't say it exactly that way, but she really firmly believes in chidush, meaning bringing, as she called it, reform, not reform, but to reform. So one of the stories she told was that she was at a congregation that was formed in Israel at a certain time in her life, and she was a part of it, and there were songs, and then she revisited it different times in her life, and 18 years later, she sat in that same congregation in Israel, and she was sad because they were singing exactly the songs they had sung 18 years before. Now, that's not to say we shouldn't have tradition, but she felt it lost its energy because nobody came in and put a Joey Weisenberg, I shouldn't say Joey Weisenberg, I'm saying that, but something new, something with new energy to revitalize and to speak to the people who were there after 18 years probably were not all the same people who were there 18 years before, but they're still singing the same ones. And she said, sometimes when people say to her, can't you just do the traditional melodies? She said, instead of tradition, take that word out and put back in the melodies I grew up with. Everybody thinks the melodies they grew up with are the traditional melodies. And she's like, yes, and we want to do something new. If you come here, so we do traditional, but Ellie and others also bring newer songs. We don't do everything. Like, when I grew up at the bus and the Rebbe's, so we had certain tunes, and Pircha came and gave more tunes, and all the other, what was it that Ellie was a part of? I'm blanking on the name. But whatever it is, and then more and more artists over time, so we bring new melodies, and that brings a surge of energy. So there's nothing wrong, of course, with doing some of it, but if you always stay in that place and never move forward, this is one of the things she believes clearly very important. But she also does it in the right way. She does it. She tries to do it slowly. Okay, one of the one of the iconic lines in her book. For so long, I had carried the heart of the stranger, but I now saw that in every moment of outsiderness, there has been a teaching. I'm going to repeat that. For so long, I had carried the heart of the stranger, but I now saw that every moment of outsiderness has been a teaching. Okay, one maybe last thing. Bonnie reminded me of this. There's a saying, 2 Jews, 3 opinions. People heard that? What does that mean, 2 Jews, 3 opinions? What? 2 Jews, 2 opinions.
We always argue.
We always argue. What does it
We
mean?
don't always agree.
We don't always agree.
We fight, we disagree so much. It's as though, even though there are only 2, it's as though there were 3. It's like the disagreement is like...
The disagreement is so loud and so hectic, and we're always arguing, right? We do that. She said it's the opposite of Korean, which is very quiet in Buddhism. But in Judaism, we're in the study hall, and we chavruta. And then she read stories, and I don't know if I have time to tell the stories, but there were stories from the Talmud about people who didn't agree and how that created something beautiful. A third opinion was born, not doing it in order to force the other one and do it out of anger, but to do it from a place of, I want to explain to you, and I want you. And so I'll tell you briefly the story of one of our Rabbi, one of our sages, who got a bandit, Reish Lakish, to come to be about tshuva, basically. And he was so smart that he actually married his sister, so they were also brothers-in-law, and they became chavruta, study partners. And what they loved was that they always pushed each other to do better, always questioned each other. And then one time, this person, I think it was Rabbi Ishmael, and he reminded him of the time when he was a bandit, not abandoned, B-A-N-D-I-T, which was so hurtful to him that he ended up falling into depression and dying. This is a story, and I don't need to go into the things. And he said, I don't know what to do. I don't have a good chavruta. So they brought somebody very smart who was his chavruta, and every time he would say something, the chavruta would say, oh yeah, it's supported here, and in this text, and in this text. And after a few days of this, he said, you're not helping me. I don't need you to convince me that what I said was true. I knew it was true before I started. I need somebody to push me to be my best self, to say, but did you think of this? But did you think of that? That's the 2 Jews, 3 opinions. Because if each of you come from a different place, it doesn't have to be every second, obviously, but when you're studying and talking to each other, but you can do it in a way where you come to an understanding of each other, that creates a third entity. Halavai, we could all of us do that. What? Oh, Yochanan, you're right, not Rabbi Ishmael. Thank you, that was helpful. Rabbi Yochanan.
How about remind about our program on that topic?
Yeah, I could do that too.
That's a good segue for your program teaching about arguing.
Yeah, Bonnie and I attended a training for the sake of arguments about how to have healthy argument. People are invited. There are 2 workshops. One will be July 19th and one August 23rd. It's the same workshop. You just sign up on a day that's good for you. It's not. We're not repeating it for the same people, and so you're all invited to do that. She obviously. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. She has a beautiful story about a congregant who came to her and said, look, I just want to tell you, I came in from Brooklyn every week and I loved it, but I've gotten to a point where I feel like there are people, I feel like an outsider. I don't feel like my views are accepted. They're different from other people's views. And she was able, you'll find it in the book, she was able to sit with her and say, we welcome you. We want you to be here. Our synagogue is less rich if we only have people who think the same or think similarly. And the woman not only ended up staying, but she opened up a text study group where people with differing views could talk with each other, and they found a way. And here's the thing, and maybe I really could end with this. She says something so beautiful. She says, how many places are there anymore in this world, maybe especially in the U.S., not only, where people who have differing views will sit with each other, will sing with each other, will talk with each other, will eat with each other? A synagogue is one of the few arenas where we can daven with someone for 25 years and we don't think the same, or invite them for a Shabbat meal, whether we speak or don't speak about the things that we don't. But there were so many things that we value that are similar. And we can, I don't know, like there were 20 people on Zoom and there are more people around the table, and 30, 35, whatever it is. And I assume we don't have the same views about many, many, many things. And it doesn't mean we always have to look for what's in common, but we can appreciate the time together and look for the time together and understand that a community is greater than each one person. And that's a message that she leaves us with as well. It was important to her. It's still important to her. If we can accept her as, we're not checking her pedigrees. We understand that there's a problem. There's a difference in the way we look at patrilineal than she does. We understand that, but we can still respect her and honor her and learn from her and learn with her.
One word. One word. One word. May I say one word?
1 second, Eileen is speaking. What?
Okay, so
Maybe I missed it,
Yeah.
but did she speak about what it was like to keep Shabbat, Yom Tov?
So she herself, at some point, she and her husband decided that they liked the cessation, like stepping away from technology. And she said that the same way Achad Ha'am says, more than Jews kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jews. She said that resonated. She has a beautiful quote from her son, when he was 6, after she was reading to him from Harry Potter, and they were just kind of lying there, and he says, "This is the point of life, Shabbat." It's really beautiful. So she didn't really talk that much about it, more about that issue. I don't know how she keeps the other holidays, but they made a conscious decision to, in general, not to use the computer, not to use, she might keep the phone with her for emergencies, but actually to stay away from technology. That's very important to her. She also spoke about COVID. She spoke about a lot of things. There's much more in the book. I'm bringing more of her, what does she think as a modern Jewish thinker?
Maybe the same thing for kashrut, etc.
Well, each one is its own decision. I mean, yes, she keeps a version of kosher. I don't know what that is, but she does keep a version of kosher. But, again, that's not so, to me, that is not the issue, right? I'm not going to eat by her. And 1 second, Judy wanted to say something. What do you want to say?
yeah, two points. Yes. One is when the couple gets married and the chassan steps on the glass and breaks it. Oftentimes, what they do with those broken shards is to make it into a mezuzah for the home, and it's made very beautiful. You've heard of that before?
I'm sorry, to take the
broken shards and make it into a beautiful mezuzah for their home.
Yes.
Sounds
So
like a
that's
lot of
very-
work, but that's fine.
That's similar to the
Did people hear?
Japanese-
Everybody heard the question? No. So Judy had a suggestion. What was that connected to? Oh, the growth from breaking.
Japanese-
when
the
you break
Japanese-
the glass,
yes,
which, by the
right.
way, a lot of people break a light bulb today because it's easier to
Okay,
break.
right.
So no, it's about breaking. 1 second, Edith.
Practical.
See you.
Right.
So she had a suggestion to make a mezuzah out of it, something beautiful. Yeah, Edith. What?
At the conservative school, I asked her because she told us about her son becoming Orthodox. I said, "Why did you send him to an Orthodox yeshiva in Israel?"
Yeah.
So she said that's what he wanted.
Yeah, you don't send kids to yeshiva in their gap year. They choose where they want to go.
Well, right. She said that's what he wanted, and I said, "Then how come you didn't, convert?" She said that this is what he wanted, and he became Orthodox.
Right.
But and it was fine. It was fine with her.
That's beautiful too. It's not always fine with people when
Right,
their kids
and so
choose.
she accepted the path that he chose.
What? And by the way, if he's Orthodox, it could be that her home is kosher now because she wants to make sure he can eat there. It could be. She didn't speak about that, but it could be.
Right.
Any other comments before we finish?
Yes,
Bonnie?
yes.
Wait
one
one
more.
second, Judy. Judy, wait. Sorry, Bonnie.
I just thought it was interesting that she ended the program when she spoke with the song "Somewhere Over the Rainbow."
Yeah.
And it wasn't just at our program.
Right.
Well, she writes that in the book. That's somewhere
Yes.
over the rainbow.
So that's
Right.
She offers us towards the end of hope and a better world.
A better world and hope. Absolutely.
And she sang it at our gathering.
Also, well, she said this is iconic for her. She considers it a Jewish text. Ellen and Judy, and then I think we need to go.
I just wanted to say for anybody who did not read this book, I normally read on my Nook. I read electronically. I haven't bought a physical book in years. And after I started reading this on my Nook, I ordered a copy of it because it's so dense that you really want to be able to keep going back to it. And that's very hard to do on a on an
Dense. I
electronic
found it
book.
very readable, but maybe what you mean is that there's a lot of ideas in it.
Right, there's a
Because
lot of
there's
stuff I want
31 chapters. Also, I heard that her audiobook is very nice. I read that in one of the things because she sings also. So that's also a beautiful idea if you have time to listen to an audiobook. Okay, that was Ellen and Judy wanted. Ruby, did you want to say?
Yes, yeah, I wanted to.
What do you
The
want to say,
word,
Judy?
a comment about her word, a translation of the word emuna. She translates it as trust, but within the word emuna is amen, so it means agreeing. So,
I don't know if I agree with you that that's
so no,
correct. First of all, it's
so
not yes, but that's yes
well,
and.
well,
Because it
exactly.
could be different.
You can agree to disagree,
Um, okay, that's a little bit of a
and
stretch.
have trust in the disagreement.
Got it. Cool. Cool. All right, my friends. The next, every Wednesday at 11 o'clock, we're having a different modern Jewish thinker. Next week is Rav Stephen. Then I'll be coming in 2 weeks about Rav Adin Steinsaltz, then Rav Stephen. And then our Bayit intern will be her last Bayit, Yudit Mazur Shlomi or Shlomi Mazur, Mazur Shlomi, I think. She's going to speak about Rabbeni Lau. So you have another 4 amazing modern Jewish thinkers. Thank you, everybody, for coming. This was fantastic.
Thank you so
So
much.
much fun. Thank you for participating, for listening. I hope everybody
Thank
caught.
you.
Bernie wrote me that
Thank
maybe
you
people
so
didn't
much.
hear. I apologize.
Thanks a lot.
Some people didn't. Have a wonderful day,
Thank you. You too.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.